Hey, Mr. Wonderful here with a really unique episode of Ask Mr. Wonderful. You know, because we talk about entrepreneurship so much in the journey and the challenge of doing it, I thought we'd bring on someone who's actually been on Shark Tank not once, twice. This guy's a crazy chicken, and even to talk yourself on a Shark Tank twice is impossible, so he's done it. And who knows, he might be the only person that can come on 3 times, but he's got the energy. I'll let him introduce himself, and then we're going to take a whole bunch of questions from Ask Mr. Wonderful viewers. But we've got an entrepreneur here extraordinaire. Aaron?
Kevin, thank you so much.
No problem.
So my name is Aaron Marino. I have the YouTube channel Alpha M, and basically from this channel, it allowed me to start different verticals and different businesses. I think that at my core, I'm an entrepreneur. It just happened that my business that I wanted to basically start from the age of 12 was a fitness center. I knew at 12 years old what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. You know, everything leading up to the point at which I actually opened a fitness center, that's what it was about. From 12 years old, I wanted to help people change their lives. And, you know, as you know, entrepreneurship is not a straight line. And it was the most devastating thing that happened when I had to end up shutting the business down back in 2006.
Because poo-poo happens.
Well, it happens, and it happened a lot. I think there should have been an omen. We signed the lease to our facility on the September 11th. That was pretty much a telltale sign of how everything was going to unfold.
But I think that's a very important lesson for everybody listening, because just because you assume success, just because you have the energy, just because you have the desire, doesn't mean it's going to happen for you on the first time. In fact, I believe that entrepreneurs that go through the sting of failure are motivated in a very special way afterwards. And clearly in your case, that's been exactly what's happened, because there's been a lot of shit hits you. And somehow, here we are, you're very successful now, which is, I'm so happy to have you on my channel, because I want to talk a little bit about that journey. But you actually have a unique amount of aura and energy, and that's the reason that you've been on Shark Tank twice, because when you came on the first time, I thought you were a real dick, I gotta tell you.
Me? You're the dick.
I mean, the idea was so preposterous, the idea that you were gonna sell a style system.
$300.
I know, but
DVDs.
You know, and the whole idea was so crazy, but because your storytelling was so compelling, you actually got people seriously considering it. I nearly had to go down the line to the other sharks and say, look, no one's giving this guy any dough. This is way too crazy. But you were very good at explaining why it might have value to somebody, and that's part of the challenge of being an entrepreneur, to be able to explain your opportunity in a very short, concise period of time, which you were very good at. But after that, you came back, and which is remarkable. And let's talk about that experience. What was that like? First of all, being one, I think it's less than 1% ever get back.
Yeah, no, Shark Tank is amazing, and it's a shame that people don't really understand like what really goes into it. They only see a small window of what happens.
Well,
when you're
here's a chance for you to tell.
It is brutal. It is. I mean, and the one thing that you're going to notice, if I tell you this, it sort of ruins it. Your mouth gets so dry when you're out there
because you're scared shitless.
You're scared shitless.
Yeah.
And so you're there, and lights, camera, action, and there is no stop. There is no, okay, do that again. It's like go, go, go. And you get grilled. And that's what I was not expecting. I was not expecting, even though I watched it hundreds of times, I was not expecting the questions to be not only as direct and sort of cut through all the bullshit. Like it was, this is what it's about, you know, and I wasn't prepared for that. Even though I knew my numbers, I was prepared. And so the first time was kind of a disaster. I was so excited to be on, and I knew that I was going to, it didn't matter what you guys said, I knew that I was going to sell a ton of style systems afterwards. And the night that Shark Tank aired, I had all my friends and family there, everybody's there, and I'm sitting there and I had my computer out and I was ready to see that dollar amount to start to ring. And I sold 1 unit the night that Shark Tank aired. Like 8 million people.
Which, by the way, is probably the worst performance of any product ever in Shark Tank history, because the idea sucked. That's why, and I think I told you, because I am Mr. Wonderful, I tell the truth. It sucked, but you came back.
But, so the reality hit me in the face. All right, this is not
Thank
working.
goodness.
This is not working. And so there I was about a month later. I knew that I needed a lower price point product, something that every guy needed
Yeah,
and
because
used.
the deal was $300, right?
Yeah, $300.
Crazy.
It was an information
Shame
product.
on you, crazy.
I sold one. Shut up.
You made hundreds of dollars.
Exactly, I did. I made hundreds. And so I was styling my hair when inspiration struck. My YouTube channel was all about helping guys look and feel great, and hair products were one of those things where I was passionate about and I loved. And so I thought, you know, I'm going to start a hair product business. And it's been sort of a wild ride ever since. The YouTube channel continues to grow. I came back on Shark Tank for the hair product. And nobody wanted to invest in the product.
No, because first of all, your premise was for men, right?
Yes.
Which is a brutally competitive space. And everybody's question was the same. What's your customer acquisition strategy? Because you're competing with some of the giants on earth. Some of the biggest companies on earth are in this space, and they're beating each other up. And here you are, Aaron, saying, hey, I'm here for a second time on Shark Tank. I've got another crazy idea. Please give me some money.
But I got to defend myself for a second. If anybody else would have gone in the Shark Tank, if I didn't have the backing, or the reason I was selling was because of my YouTube channel, if I went in there, or an entrepreneur went in there with a business that in 2 years made $1 million, and the margins were great, growing at a fast rate, everybody would have been throwing money at him. But because I had this
mechanism. We didn't have the future in front of us. We only had your second idea. The first one absolutely sucked. We all remembered that. And we're thinking, why is this guy back? The reason you were back is you are tremendously good television, which is a great message to everybody out there. You have such energy and such an aura, and the camera likes you so much that the producer said, one more time with feeling from this guy, because everybody knows sometimes the second time up at bat is when you hit the home run.
And so I got a deal with Barbara, but she didn't want to invest in the hair product business.
Yeah,
and
because she still thought it sucked.
No, she didn't think it sucked. But she was investing in, to your point, she wanted a piece of my YouTube channel. Now this was
She wanted to diversify her risk, is what she wanted, because she knew you were great, but she didn't know which one of your ideas was going to hit, which is fair. I'll speak for her. I would have done the same thing with you. In fact, I would have been much tougher. But the point was that she was saying, look, I know something's going to work for this guy because he's got such an incredible amount of energy. I don't know what it's going to be. And that's exactly what happened.
So fast forward, I didn't end up taking the deal. Since then, I've been able to start a few other businesses, basically leveraging my ability to, communicate and have a large following.
So which ones actually worked?
The hair product business worked. It's
what are the sales of that thing?
Right now, this past year?
Barbara, you bozo, you let that get away? I can't believe it. Shame on you. Imagine that dog, that piece of poo-poo was doing $1 million? That's
I didn't think we were going to get to the numbers. So that was one.
Why not? I'm all about numbers.
That's not, and so that's not. So I have other businesses as well. I don't want to go into the numbers with all of them.
That's a pretty good number. That's a pretty good number for a product everybody thought was going to suck.
So then my largest business is a skincare company called Tiege Hanley. Yeah. That is a men's skincare subscription business. I have an advertising agency that I started as a result of not being able to sell I didn't want to sell advertising to my channel. I wanted somebody else to do it. And so I hired my best friend from high school, Terry, who is a car salesman, an amazing car salesman. And from moment one, everything took off in terms of sponsorships.
So just tease us. What's the big nut? What are you going to do in sales this year across all this stuff?
A lot.
Like, just give me a number.
I mean, a lot.
Come on.
See, here's where
Listen, a lot can mean $2. It's more than $1. That's a lot. Or it can mean something substantive. What do you got?
What about you?
Hey, come on, listen. I'm asking you because
let's just
you're the one that got out of the tank.
Yeah.
And I want Barbara to hear just how good it is.
8 figures in that.
More than 10 million?
More than 10 million.
More than 20 million?
More than. Let's just leave it there. We're
Barbara,
doing well.
Barbara, I'm going to buy you a new broom so you can fly here right now to meet Aaron again. New broom for you,
Exactly.
Barbara, right over here. You can fly. She can fly on a broom.
She could. You know what? Love Barbara, but no, everything is great. I am incredibly fortunate that I get to do what I love every day, which is create content, and the fact that being an entrepreneur and having that in my DNA and my blood, you never know where opportunity you never know which one is going to work.
Exactly.
And you got to keep your eyes open because
But that's why I'm glad we're here today together, because I get thousands of questions from entrepreneurs that were actually at the beginning of your journey. Maybe they failed once, maybe they haven't even started yet. That's why I want to tap into you today on these Ask Mr. Wonderful questions. I got a bunch of them here.
Great.
Let's listen, and then I want us both to answer them from the different perspectives we have, because you have come out of a hole. You have a little story on this watch before we start, right?
Yep.
This is a beautiful Rolex. I'm a watch collector.
Yep.
I really appreciate that. It's a gorgeous rose gold piece, but it's got an inscription on the back of it. What does it say?
Yeah, most people, it's funny, most people celebrate victories or wins or benchmarks in their business by buying nice watches, or they'll buy a watch to represent some point,
Some deal. That's what I do.
That's
what I do.
Something good.
And a celebration of success.
I bought this watch when things were bad in terms of, and bad is relative.
Because that's not a cheap piece.
No, but I had my eye on it, and I was going through sort of a low point in terms of emotionally, things with YouTube weren't going in the direction that I wanted, but I bought it to remind myself that as long as I keep trying, as long as I don't stop, it'll get better and I can do this. And so on the back, I had inscribed, "Get to work." And so everybody told me, well, that devalues.
It says, "Get to work."
It says, "Get to work. Figure it out."
Initially, I would have said that would have devalued the watch, except since then, maybe that watch is your lucky timepiece, because look what's happened to you. And you look at it every day and you remind yourself what you put on the back of that at your low point. I love that story. Watches are about conversations. We just had one, so that's a very successful piece for you. Because every time someone looks at it and says, "Oh, I really like that watch," you can tell them the story of that.
Absolutely.
That's great.
I love it.
I love that too. That's great. Let's get to some questions, okay? Because we're going to have some fun here. I mean, I love the fact that you can relate. And I've not listened to these questions, so they're...
Me neither.
So we're ready. Let's go.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful. Big fan of the show and all the great insights you've always given. I'm a 24-year-old recent business school grad working as a business development representative at a fashion tech startup that uses AI to automate the fashion photography process here in New York City. I finished college with more debt than originally planned, around $21,000. I want to save and invest in the future so I can start my own business one day, but believe I need to eliminate all my debt before saving and investing, and of course eventually starting my own business. Do you recommend someone in my position to focus all their extra money, their savings, and commissions towards my student debt? Or is it advantageous to do a little bit of both, save and invest, as well as pay off the debt, even if it'll take more time? Thanks, Mr. Wonderful. I've always resonated with your story growing up as an expat with you and myself. I love your videos. Any advice would be great. Thanks.
You know what's cool about this question? It's in your space. It's in fashion.
A little bit.
Yeah, but the guy is $21,000 in the hole. He hasn't even brought any revenue in, doesn't have a business yet. What do you tell him?
So for me, I think it really depends on, for one, interest rate on that student loan.
Call it 7%.
7%. I would probably not wait to start saving for both my future in terms of my business. It sounds like he's an entrepreneur. He has an idea that he wants to go after. I would pay down the debt, but I think that I would be utilizing my funds to try to start that business that I ultimately feel will propel me towards success. But
so debt freaks you out, is what you're saying.
I don't have any debt. Once I had to file bankruptcy.
So you felt what happens.
Oh God.
You felt the terror of that.
There's nothing that takes the fun out of life like debt and not knowing how you're going to pay your bills.
Well said.
And for me, when I had my fitness center and it was failing, I was taking money off of my credit cards to pay my staff. I mean, it was bad. And at that point, I was driving a beer cart to put gas in my car at a country club. And here I am, a 30-year-old guy who has a business, a fitness center that I was trying to franchise, and I'm driving a beer cart. And the worst part about it, Kevin, I didn't have a plan B. I'm the type of entrepreneur that I don't have a safety net. I'm plan A all the time, direct, and when that exploded, I had no fucking idea what I was gonna do, and that was the scariest part for me.
So I totally agree with you in that I share. I have no debt, zero. And every time my credit card comes in every month, every cent is paid off because I live in fear of debt. I've been through that too. I didn't get to bankruptcy, but I got very close and it scared the living shit out of me. And it made me feel unhealthy. It put so much stress on you. So I think that both of us giving the same advice, number one focus is pay down that $21,000, but don't give up your dream. You have an interesting idea in fashion using AI. I love entrepreneurs with disruptive ideas. He's got one. But that debt thing is the real message in that question.
It is, absolutely.
And so, that's for everybody with college debt. It's between 6 and 7% most of these loans. They kick up to that rate pretty damn fast. And you've got to start focusing, but whatever you're doing, take 20%, 10%, and pay it down.
There's something also exciting about that, because he's in this new space. And so, with startups, there is that entrepreneurial spirit. And so that there's also the idea that if this hits, it could hit big.
Right.
But there's also a tremendous amount of risk.
It may not hit.
Exactly. The risk with a startup or something that's unproven, everybody's looking for that exit. And I really think that with certain businesses, you really just need to be smart and disciplined with the way that you spend your money, and not think that, and not assume that it's going to hit super big. And so just be careful, pay your debt down, because being debt-free is the most liberating feeling you'll ever have.
Well said. Let's get another question here.
Sorry, am I talking more than you?
No,
Kevin?
I'm cool with it. I love the fact that we're doing this together, because at the end of the day, you've lived that ride. You've gone through it. And so this is great advice. Let's listen to this one. Again, I've never heard these questions, so I love the fact they're just cold turkey.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful. Joe here. Huge fan. You're my favorite shark. I was just wondering what you do when the woman you love will never love you back. Thanks, Mr. Wonderful.
Whoa, Joe, baby. This is a good question.
It's a great question.
I'll tell you something. In life, when you fall in love with somebody and they don't return that can be a bad affliction, because it really drags your energy down. But at some point, you have to be honest with yourself, particularly when you have that conversation with them. Say, look, is there any chance between the two of us? All of us have been there. People try and say, oh, it's never happened to me. Bullshit. It happens to everybody. But that makes you realize they're not your partner. They're not there for you. They don't love you back. And that's just the nature of love. It's a bitch that way. But you have to have that conversation with them. This is my advice to Joe. And say, look, I really have some strong feelings for you. But if you can never reciprocate that, this is a Bonnie Raitt song, by the way. It's a classic, which you professes her love to somebody and they're never going to love her back. Broke her heart. What do you do?
Joe, my advice to you is you got to be honest. The fact is, you are amazing, right? You're an incredible guy, and you're going to make some woman the luckiest woman ever. But one of the issues that we fall into as men is that we do get sort of tied in and preoccupied with that one person, right? And really it's because of something that we can't have, right? The truth is, you need to read the writing on the wall, and it's time for you to take care of yourself and understand that you're never ultimately going to find that perfect person that's out there for you until you are able to shut the door on this person that obviously is not worthy of your love and affection.
Do you think as you get a little older, Aaron, that you understand the pitfalls of love and you start to realize, I don't want to drag myself, maybe you become more of an oyster, you protect your emotions because they know how much it hurts. But if you've never been hurt, you can never really fall in love.
Absolutely.
That's the issue.
That's the issue.
So I think for Joe, you got to write this one off and you got to move on. Aaron has the right advice there. There's always another fish in the ocean somewhere. By the way, is she really smoking hot? That's breaking your heart? That's the problem? Usually that's...
Usually there's something, yeah.
I'll never meet someone that hot. You will. You absolutely will.
You will, Joe.
It's...
You will.
That's a tough one. Okay, here we go. Number 3. I'm having fun. Are you?
I'm having a blast.
This is great. All right, here we go.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful. Thanks for taking my question. I wondered, when is it a good time to add a co-founder to your company? And how much do you offer them? I have a company that I started about a year ago, and I think I'm ready to add a co-founder to the company, but not sure how much I should offer them. And so I thought I would ask you, Mr. Wonderful. Thanks so much.
It's a great question.
Well, is it really
a co-founder?
Is it really a co-founder?
No, it isn't. It's a partner she's
Exactly.
talking about. But I mean, here's the real debate that I've learned. You're really good at some things and not good at others. Every entrepreneur is exactly that way. So I'm a good sales marketing person. I hate logistics and manufacturing. Bores the shit out of me. But without that skill set, I can't really scale. So along the way in my businesses, I've always found someone who can make up for my weaknesses. And I've made them partners by giving them equity. They're not really co-founders, as you've said. But in order for them to stick through the hard times and really suffer the pains and slings and arrows of building a business, you got to give them a piece of the action. That's the way I look at it. So if you are actually growing and it's working and you realize you have weaknesses, you've got to find someone else to fill those holes. Now, maybe you can find employees. We're going to have to pay them a lot. I prefer to have people with skin in the game, soldiers beside me. We're all fighting the same war together, and we're in for the mission, and we all get the upside. So I think if you're asking me this question right now, and I'm dying to hear what Aaron has to say, I think you're ready for a partner. But make sure you're not greedy. Don't be a greedy pig. Pigs got slaughtered. If you're giving away equity, make sure it's the right person. Take a long time to make that decision. But together, you'll make a much bigger pie, and that equity will be worth a lot to both of you. What do you say?
The one thing I would say, I have some businesses that I have partners in, some businesses that I don't. And there are upsides to both scenarios. The one thing I would say, whenever you are considering adding somebody to the team, to something that you're building, your baby, you want to make sure that it's not only the right fit now, but it's the right fit moving forward. And what I mean by that is, I think too often people are thinking, I need to give away too much too soon, and they think it's, it has to vest like immediately. I would say that in this scenario, find somebody that is going to add value, that's going to fulfill or fill the voids in which you're not good at, and then do it over time. Do it gradually. There's nothing wrong with seeing how this person performs, because the worst scenario.
So give them the equity as they perform.
As they perform, have it vest over 2 years, a year. Give them a little bit of equity after year 1, year 2. Have different benchmarks. And really, because everybody's going to sell you how great they are. Everybody is going to tell you, yeah, I'm amazing. I can do this. I can do that. But the truth is, it's put up or shut up. And in business, talk is cheap. You've got to actually execute. And you've got to make sure that the person that has told you how excellent they are at executing is actually able to do it and help your business move forward. And if it's not, well, then that's not the right person.
You're cool with giving a piece of the pie.
Oh, absolutely.
You see the merit in doing that.
Oh, 100%.
I do too, but I like your strategy. If you layer it in, that's fine. But by that time, it may be more employees or maybe more people that have to share. And that's what options. Generally, companies put about 15% of their equity into people that are coming on to grow it. You love to have that problem. If you're actually giving away equity because you need more help, that means you're growing. That's a wonderful outcome. I wish them good luck on that one. It's very cool. All right, let's go to the next one. I'm having so much fun with this. All right, here we go.
Me too, Kevin.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful. My name is Tara, and I was wondering if you could give me and my husband a little bit of advice on dressing for job interviews. We're both actually interviewing at new companies this month, and neither of us have been in the job interview game for probably 5 years or more. I've heard that wearing a suit and tie or a blazer and heels for a woman used to be the way to go, but that some new companies can think that you're stuffy or won't fit the job culture. We would love your advice. Is it better to overdress, or is it better to be cool and approachable? You're always fashionable, and I know you've talked a lot about dressing for your job before, so we would love to get your advice. Thank you.
Well, Tara, you've come to the right place. I have the fashionista man right beside me here. Aaron, I'm going to let you take a stab at this one.
Sure.
First. She's raising a really good question for both men and women.
Yeah.
They're back in the job market. They want to look sharp. They want to win the job, basically.
I think the first thing you need to do is do your research. Figure out what the corporate culture is like at the place that you're actually applying for. Because one of the issues, if you're going to like a cool tech startup, I really feel like it does to some degree depend on the business that you're actually going in and applying for. And so do your research.
So if it's a cool tech startup in the Valley, what are you saying? You're going to be a little hipper in terms of what clothing you're wearing?
I think you
a little more free?
You don't have the pressure to dress. It might not require a suit and tie, something super professional. Yeah. It might be a business casual type of environment. But I always would say err on the side of overdressing versus underdressing 100% of the time. That is your one shot, and your employer knows that it doesn't get any better than right now. Like, this is the best. If you are going in for an interview, you know that if this person didn't shave, if this person didn't wear pantyhose or whatever the situation is, it's never getting any better. And so I would say that if you want to dress and be cool and hip later, that's fine. That's for HR to work out. But right now, you need to be respectful of the position you're going after, but also do your due diligence in identifying what the corporate culture is. Because if you go in a three-piece suit and it doesn't require that, you may be overdressing for the potential job or interview.
It's a great answer. I'm going to take a stab at it too, because I actually interview a lot of people. And I've learned that the key words you just brought up there, Aaron, you only get a first time to do a first impression, only once. That only happens once, when you walk in that room and you look at each other. So clothing is really interesting because it's different for men and women. Men have fewer choices, particularly if you're going for a job in financial services. What's happened on both the East and the West Coast over the last 5 years is the tie has come back as a sign of respect that you care. If you're in the financial services, you're in an industry of trust. And the styles have become very, very clean, and the tie, and also, you know, the colors have become more muted. It's very interesting to watch that happen. It happens in San Francisco, Los Angeles. I see it in New York, Miami, Chicago, and I travel all those cities. People are looking crisp, clean, and subtle for the side of men. Now, women, this is very controversial, because if you look at some of the codes that are now written by large corporations about women's clothing, they're putting in the concept of not showing too much chest. They don't want controversial dressing. They don't want it to be flirtatious because of all the Me Too things that are going on in the world, and they're trying to tone down. And believe me, in big companies, people meet each other and stuff happens. That's just men and women doing their thing. But how you clothe, if you clothe yourself in a controversial way, that's going to hurt you in a job interview. Are they risking something? That's the employer saying to themselves, and they make notes about this stuff. I can guarantee you, and very often they're asking for a picture of you before you show up, just so they can see what you're wearing. Women have to be very careful that they look professional. That's what matters. Whatever that means to you, taking into account your idea about the company you're going to work in. But if you come in with anything controversial, that hurts. And that's why there are dress codes. And that's why companies, as they grow, just past 25 people, HR starts to put in place dress codes because they don't want to cause tension in the workplace. Great question, though. I loved it. Never had one like that before, and good it came when you were on the set. Because you're the fashionista guy. You keep telling me that.
You overestimate my ability.
Well, come on. You told me twice on Shark Tank, remember? All right.
Hi, Mr. Wonderful. This is Andres from Colombia. At the moment, my brother and I
International.
have a hamburger and a hot dog business with 3 outlets. My question is, if it is better to grow slowly or seek funds to grow faster? We're selling over $1 million a year. We've
Whoa.
been open for 2 years only. Thank you.
$1 million and 3 stands. The kid knows what he's doing. You
He
can
does.
live off that.
You could.
You're probably making about 30% margin on a product like that, I would think. You know, bringing in 300,000. Maybe it's between 200 and 300,000. I'm going to give him that if he's running it. So that's a good question. You first. You go
All right.
nuts, you borrow money to expand, or you just grow slow and steady?
So here's the thing that you got to figure out. If you raise money, how are you going to use that money in order to take your business to that next level? One of the big mistakes that I see a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses get into is they take money because they think, hey, I need more money. But they don't know how they're going to spend it in order to actually generate more revenue. I am a firm believer that you never, it sort of goes back to the whole debt thing. I don't want debt on my personal life. I don't want debt in my business unless I know if I can use, and you've said this all the time, I just want to add fuel to the fire, right? Or cash to the fire and make it burn bigger.
Gasoline to the fire.
That's what it is. And so unless you know how you're going to spend that money and you've got the infrastructure in place in order to be able to scale your business bigger, stronger, more profitable based on you taking money, I say until you know how you're going to do that, until you have a roadmap of I'm going to spend X, I'm going to get this back, don't take the money. Do not fall into the trap, because if you take money from friends and family, they'll let it slide. But once you go into that institutional money, then they're calling you. Then they're like, hey, why aren't you selling 27 more burgers a day? And do you want to answer to those people? That's my question to you.
I think it's a great question because clearly they figured out the model. 3 stands doing $1 million. I'm going to say that they're probably making $250,000 pre-tax on that. It can be a pretty good margin business. You're selling direct to the customer, cash, so you don't have a lot of credit you have to worry about or bad loans or anything else. What I would do is I would open one more stand using the cash flow of the other 3. in a very close geography. In other words, just make it a place that you can actually go visit every day. I love businesses that spin cash and you can live off. I hate debt. So it's just what happens is you have to start hiring people, relying on them to have the same fire you have that maintain these stands. Sounds like a bit of a family business, which I think is terrific. You don't have to become McDonald's to have a successful business. So I would cool it. I'd open one more with the cash you've got, then one after that, grow it slowly, zero debt. That's for other people, not you, my friend. But a great question.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer, Kevin. It's like you've done this before.
Yeah, well, I hate debt just like you do. Okay, here we go. One more time with feeling, Aaron.
I'm here.
What is the biggest deal you made on Shark Tank?
There it is.
That's a simple question, right? Saying no to Aaron. That was my biggest deal. And it was a huge mistake. The guy's rocking around with maybe 20 million in sales. It's more of Barbara's problem. She's the one that missed it. The largest deal in Shark Tank history actually is mine. It's the company called Plated, and it's measured by the biggest exit. It was $300 million. They came on Shark Tank, did not get a deal. They were asking for such a ridiculous valuation, two guys just like you. We ran into them a year later in the streets of New York. They told me where they were at, and they said, look, we'd love to get a shark into the deal. And I then did the deal a year afterwards, and that was sold only 24 months after that to Albertsons for $300 million. So they had nothing when they came on Shark Tank. That's the biggest exit we've seen so far in Shark Tank history, but it just shows you the dream is alive. You can come on Shark Tank with a great idea, you know, get an investment from a shark, and together we can use the platform to blow it up big. There's been so many cases of that. And great entrepreneurs show up every day. And, you know, all joking aside, Aaron's probably one of the best examples of what it takes to get on Shark Tank. You need energy. You need to show that you really care and are passionate about the business, as he was, and he got on twice. Now, Barbara screwed up. That's her problem. You know, I'm going to get Barbara 2 new brooms this year, so she can go east-west. That's how it'll work. Listen, it's been great with you today. Fantastic,
Amazing.
Aaron.
Thank
It
you
was
so much,
terrific.
Kevin.
This is one of the best episodes so far of Ask Mr. Wonderful. Until next time, keep dreaming big. That's what it takes. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Thank you, Kevin. Good luck, guys. You can do it.